What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. We are back again with my weekly recap, breakdown, review of the latest episode of Apple TV Plus C Season 2, Episode 3, which was titled The Compass, an episode in which we meet a new group of badass guardians, and Jeremy Morrell has lost more than his sight in this episode. We're breaking it all down here in the spoiler review, but before we dive into it, make sure you're checking me out on all my other social media accounts. If you all are new to the channel, well, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new content. If you all enjoyed this spoiler review of episode 3 of season 2 of C, well, make sure to like and share this review. It really helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate the support. And in those comments, I'm going to say it right now. Not only do I think this is the best episode of season 2 so far, but I think it's the best episode of the series in its entirety. We're going to get into my reasons here in a bit, but the depth, the writing, the character development, the backstory that we get from our favorite characters, and the new characters we meet, and the big moments in this episode was literally, my head blew off of my shoulders. And we'll get to heads coming off of people's shoulders in this breakdown. But I want to know what you all thought of this episode, your highs, your lows, your thoughts, your theories, as far as what you hope to see in the weeks ahead. But let's get into my thoughts here. Just my initial thoughts. As I mentioned, this is my favorite episode. Again, the stuff that we get, it's the world building that I'm loving in this second season. I really enjoy season 1, but this season 2 to me is like really elevated itself in the writing department. It's the character moments, it's the vulnerable moments, it's of course the badass fights that we get in the show. But again, it's these new additions of the Compass, of Toad, of all Ito, all this stuff that we're getting has just been so fantastic in just 3 episodes, and I'm just in love with this show. I'm in love with this season so far. The show doesn't get talked about enough. I know we break it down every single week, and I appreciate every single one of you all, but this show is fantastic. And I said in the episode 1 review, it's not Game of Thrones level quite yet, but it's getting to that stuff that I love about Game of Thrones. The politics, the betrayal, the secrets, all the stuff that show had to offer. This show is really building on my love of what I love about sci-fi and, journey stories, a hero story. This show is fantastic. But again, that's just my thoughts initially. Let me know yours in the comments below. Am I just speaking hyperbole, or was this the best episode of the series so far? Let's talk about it. But let's get into the breakdown as we open with Ito discussing what just happened to his superiors in regards to Baba Voss and the Witchfinder who has escaped, which we learned that the Witchfinder was very valuable to them. And he doesn't mention Haniwa, which goes to show you that he has his own, as we learned last week, he has his own secret group of sighted kids. But it's a lot of stuff that Ito does not tell his superiors. But they believe that there is a traitor amongst them, and that is their main priority. They want to know who is that traitor, as he, we'll get into that a little bit later. But they want him to be focused. They want his head on his shoulder, and he takes someone's head off a little bit later. But a great way to open up the episode as we transition to Jeremy Morrell, who continues to struggle with him losing sight as he's talking to one of his main sons in regards to, he wants things to go back to normal. He wants to eventually get his sight back, but in the meantime, let's pretend like everything is normal. I don't want you to tell Ito that my sight's been gone, and I don't want them to know, because obviously that's leverage for his survival, which Ito learns about his loss of sight a little bit later. I can't wait to talk about that moment with you all. But we go to Baba Voss as he learns that obviously the princess and his wife and his son are safe, and they're at Pinsa, and that's where they're going to go. Their destination is to head to them, which I can't wait to Baba to see his wife again. And it's not going to be his wife much longer, but big moment, so many big moments here. As I mentioned, Harlan's like the little finger of this show, right? He brings in this survivor who survived what Queen Cain did in season 1, and the survivor talks about how he believes that Queen Cain was responsible for letting all the water out, which we know that was the truth. Harlan, aka Littlefinger, kills this man, but then cuts off his tongue and gives it to Queen Cain, showing his loyalty. And we know that he's not loyal to her. It's just part of his control. And he has a lot of control in this episode. And Harlan has been fantastic. Again, all these new additions, these new characters have been incredible. Speaking of Queen Cain, or I should say the princess, Magra learns of Kofun making his way back to her. And this is where she has a really kind of a sweet moment with her evil, conniving sister, Queen Cain, as she learns that she recently lost her daughter, or lost her child to say. We don't know if it was a daughter or a boy, but she learns that her sister has lost a child, and she comforts her, which was nice, but it's cut short because Queen Cain is like, listen, I need you to marry Harlan, and she gets into her reasons why in regards to if word gets out what I've done, I'm not going to not only be able to protect you, but your kids are going to be murdered. So we see Margaret, the princess, thinking in her head and coming up with all this stuff, but she agrees to ultimately marry Harlan as convenience. And I can't wait for Baba Voss to find out about his wife marrying Harlan. That moment's going to be great. But in come a set of new badass characters, and I assume that it was going to be the characters that Paris was interacting with in episode 1. And I was hoping to get that reveal, which we get in this episode. And they come in saving the day, saving Baba Voss, and just your typical badass action as there's heads being chopped off, there's bones being broken. The fights in this show is some of the best. Like, I don't know if these are the people that work on the Raid films or work on John Wick. The stunt team, the choreography team on this show is just like incredible. But nonetheless, we meet these new characters, the Compass. I believe the new characters, I know one character name was Charlotte, another one was named Keto, and the other one was named Vienna, if I'm not mistaken. But they are part of the Compass. And the Compass compiles of warriors and guardians of generations of mothers and daughters as they are protecting the sighted, because 200 years ago, there was a group of people that had birth sighted, but they were obviously killed and burned. But these mothers and daughters have a vow to protect the sighted people. And Haniwa is one of their first that they've ever come across in regards to actually protecting a sighted person. This is the stuff I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. This is the world building. This is the stuff I love about this group, who they used to be, who they protected. The writing, the show is just clicking on all cylinders, ladies and gentlemen. But again, let's cut back to Littlefinger as he is talking to the princess in regards to his plans and how he wants control and where he comes from and how he strives for control. And again, him being poor, he now wants to be rich and all this stuff. He doesn't give her all the details, but he gives her enough to inevitably them come to an agreement, an exchange of a deal where, if I'm gonna marry you, you're gonna keep me and my family protected once they come to Pensa, and in exchange, I'll give you the control of the capital that you wanted. This is the stuff I'm talking about that's just so rich and so great in the development. But speaking of development, we get backstory from one of my favorite characters, Paris, as we learn that she used to be a part of the Compass. She was assigned to protect a sighted boy. She unfortunately broke the rules and allowing this boy to read. He ended up escaping with the knowledge, with those books, and the boy turned out to be Gerald Morel. And we obviously know that's the connection of why she's like protecting his children, because obviously she has ties to him. So again, more development, more backstory. I'm loving all this richness here. But Kofun, who was, I'm telling you, he is so, he's so weak. I'm not going to lie in regards, not the character, but it's just like his sister's such a badass and he's just so weak. But nonetheless, he gets attacked by the Witchfinders who don't want him. They obviously are upset. They don't want to protect them. All their lives they've been told to hunt down the sighted, but nonetheless Toad saves him, which was another badass moment. And the role reversals of the Witchfinders now having to protect the sighted, the Compass having to kill the witch hunters, are now working with a Witchfinder. I'm loving the stuff that this episode brought to the table. And again, the new additions are fantastic. The Compass, Harlan, Toad, these characters are just so rich in my opinion. But more backstory, as I mentioned earlier in this episode. But we get backstory of Baba, and we learned why he killed his father. And the reason he did that is because his father told Baba to kill his little brother. And the reason he wanted him to is because we learned that Ito was, when he was born, unfortunately his mother died giving birth to him, and then the father always blamed Ito for that. So that's why he wanted his son dead. So backstory, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you do it. It's not forced. It doesn't feel like it's just coming out of left field. It all feels organic within the narrative that this show is telling. So can't leave out Ren, because she was in this episode, not a lot, but we see that she's afraid of getting caught because she is the traitor, obviously, that let go of Baba Voss and the Witchfinder and obviously Haniwa. But we see that Ito orders her to tell the rest of the soldiers, go find them and bring them back to me. And again, he's going to inevitably put two and two together in regards to she was the one that let them go. But we'll see how all that plays out. But speaking of the new character, Charlotte, I believe her name was, she's fantastic. I love just her swagger. And when she tells Haniwa the instructions of when they're going to go to Penta to stay behind me, stay behind your dad, and all that stuff, and the beef that she has with the Witchfinder, I'm loving this character. And I believe her name was Olivia Hung, and which I believe she was from the show Warrior, which is just giving me more reasons to watch Warrior. It's been on my watch list for a while. But it's her and and Han Lee, who was on that show, and their additions on this show is fantastic. So I can only imagine how great they are on that show. But I really love this Charlotte character as well as Toad. But we wrap things up with Queen Kane announcing the marriage between Magra and Harlan, which was a surprise to them. But speaking of surprises, ladies and gentlemen, we end with Ito paying a surprise visit to Jerry Morrell, who clearly doesn't want him to know that he's lost his sight. And Ito believes that Jerry Morrell had hands in the escape plan for Baba Voss, which we know he didn't. But Ito learns of his loss of sight, ladies and gentlemen. And to my surprise, to Jerry Morrell's surprise, he gets his head chopped clean off, which I was in shock. I literally did not see that coming. I thought that Jerry Morrell was going to be a big character moving forward. I like this death more so than I did Boots, which Boots, that death to me was kind of underwhelming. But this one was earned, and I felt like Ito should have been the one. Obviously, I would have loved to see someone else, Baba Voss, do it. But Ito killing him, that was huge. And not only him killing him, but he's going to take over all the stuff that he's built, right? He's going to take the knowledge, the books, more importantly, the sight, ladies and gentlemen. He has all of Jerry Morrell's kids in his possession to be a part of his army. And we know if you have sight on your side, you will have control. So what a great way to end a fantastic episode of television. My favorite episode of the series so far. And I thought, again, the writing, the development, the story, the backstory, the growth, the fights, the huge reveals, the huge moments in this episode was fantastic. I loved it. But again, Ito having the power of sight on his side is not going to be a good thing for Baba Voss moving forward. But what a great episode. And I think moving forward, we're going to continue to see Harlan in this relationship with Magra. And once Baba Voss found out that Magra, his princess, his wife, has married someone else, obviously she's doing it to protect her family. But Baba's not going to know that. He's just going to think, you forgot me, you forgot about our family. It's going to be some conflict there. And I can't wait to see how all this plays out. But let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode, what you hope to see in the weeks ahead, your highs, your lows, your thoughts, your theories, and everything in between. Let's talk about it in the comments. I appreciate you all for supporting these videos. If you haven't already, make sure to like, share, comment, and of course subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell, that way you don't miss any of my reviews for this show and all the other movies and shows that I cover on this channel. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you on the next video.